I just spent the entire last week creating this scene, and along the way, I faced a serious problem. This video is going to be fun because I'm going to show you the entire process from start to finish on how this scene came to be. But along the way, we're going to talk about the serious problem that I faced, which was that I didn't have any idea what the lore behind the scene was going to be. It was such a cool scene, it had so much potential, and I was really worried about messing it up. So let's discover it together. Real quick, here you'll find a lot of lore, a lot of behind the scenes creation, and just a lot of cool stuff. So my name's Travis, this is Dreams of Lumen, let's jump into the video. So this whole thing started when I was at the Denver Art Walk in Colorado, showing some of the printouts of other scenes that I've made for this world building project. At some point, I decided to just kind of walk around, and I walked into this one gallery, and I see this one painting that just instantly spoke to me. And I knew in that moment that I just had to create something similar. And so I got to work. I opened up Gaia and just started creating something. The funny thing about this project was that's the exact opposite how basically every other scene I've ever had started. Usually like I have cool idea for the lore, like how something geographically came to be, but this one I started with a visual, so it was very, very backwards. And it kind of worried me because it's like, how do I make this scene have a unique look when I don't know what that unique look was? So I guess I just kind of like reverse engineered it and just kind of started making something that looked like that painting that I saw. So like usual, I kind of start with a focal point of the scene to revolve around, and I just started creating this canyon and just kind of playing around with all these different nodes in Gaia that twisted it and shaped it and just forged it into something that just looked kind of cool. And eventually I was able to come up with something pretty cool that I liked, and so it was time. I put it into Unreal Engine, added some basic lights, found my point of focus for the scene, and just started messing around and seeing where it went. Texturing this whole scene was really cool because I knew it had to have a lot of colors, but that's kind of basically all I knew about the whole scene. So it wasn't until I started to add in the colors of the gorge itself, like the rock canyon walls of the gorge, that the lore kind of started to come to me. In the world of Lumen, there's this huge river called the Lunari River. And on the Lunari River, there's a scene called Moonlight Ridge that is this really weird place where nature seems to have just evolved to the next level. And so I started to wonder, what if this scene was the explanation for why Moonlight Ridge had evolved to have such interesting nature? I mean, the nature here manipulates people in both good and bad ways. It manipulates them physically, mentally, telepathically. It's a place where humans have evolved just as much as the world around it, because the world around it is just full of things that have a weird effect on the human body. And so I've been trying to find a way to explain how all of that came to be, and I figured this new scene that I was working on could be a great explanation for it. And that's about where I decided to do one of my favorite things ever, which was shut my computer off and go outside to sit under a tree and write some history. So this is the history that I came up with that started to really tell the story of this world. Thousands upon thousands of years ago, the impact of the branch meteor forced what was once Lumen's two continents to collide together in a long sideways grind that turned the edges of each continent into massive swirls of molten matter. Within these swirls, however, many different types of minerals, metals, natural chemicals, dirt, organic matter, rocks, and just so much more stuff pooled together to create an incredibly diverse mix of just about all of Lumen's most important molecules. But because this molten pool of material sat at the epicenter of the continental collision, it was very, very, very hot. Far hotter than any other point of the impact. Because of this, the extraordinary heat caused many of the lesser molecules, such as dirt and rocks, to vaporize away, leaving only the highly enriched compounds that eventually cooled into a thick mineral basin just east of what is today known as Dark Lake. But what makes these minerals truly unique is the subtle geoluminescence that makes them glow upon the dark night sky, a phenomenon which can be traced back to the formation of the landscape itself. Found all across Lumen is the common mineral luminite, which very effectively stores energy that was captured photovoltaically by the sun, causing it to glow a distinct moonlight blue. During the formation of the continent after the branch meteor impact, luminite was one of the most abundant minerals found in the large molten swirls that ultimately created the Gorge of Colors. Although the luminite largely vaporized from the intense heat, much of its energy was absorbed into the other minerals that adopted its signature glow. Although these minerals aren't great sources of energy like luminite, their glow certainly creates a beautiful sight. Beyond being a wondrously beautiful sight to behold, the Gorge of Colors has significant environmental impacts as well. Because these minerals are so dense and rich, they have an extraordinary ability to nourish equally rich life. Sitting at the very start of the Lunari River, these minerals flow downstream to feed an entire plantland of the planet's most abundant and in many ways mysterious ecosystems that seem highly evolved beyond the norm. Many of these plants, for example, act with a seeming intelligence, and some even display physical abilities that are very atypical for plants. Additionally, because some of these minerals are responsible for a still misunderstood ability for these plants to communicate with each other, serums and chemicals produced from them have been known to have intriguing mental effects on the human mind as well. These effects can be hard to produce, but a well-trained person can use them to look into the mind of another, or even transcend their body into a dream state reality. These are just a few examples of what the great powers behind the Gorge of Colors can do. And although its true powers are still being discovered, there is no doubt that its impact on the environment around it is equally as great on the human inhabitants the world nourishes. So by now, I had some really cool lore figured out that I really liked. It not only explained why it looks the way it looks, but it also explains how it came to be and a little bit about how it works. At the same time, I was putting all of my finishing touches on this scene, and I began to wonder what came next. And that's when I had a really cool idea. The discovery of this world really could have fit well into the premise of my book, I Am Arwen, which tells this really cool story about, well, something way different, but for now, let's just say something cool. So anyways, I want to show you guys a cinematic of the world and show you what it ultimately turned into. But at the same time, I think I've got this really cool story that tells of its discovery. So anyways, this is the Gorge of Colors. Let's check it out. It was day number 204 of settlement on Lumen, when power over what was supposed to be a very egalitarian society was stolen in a bloody battle that left Aston Starbird Forge II, the bold visionary and funder behind humanity's colonization of Lumen, exiled from society and seeking a place to hide. Seeking solace in the highly unexplored plantland known as Highgrass to the northeast, the exiles spent weeks crossing the Spiral Mountains, and although these mountains captivated them with their beauty, what they saw when they reached the far east side of Dark Lake truly made their jaws drop. Surrounded by colors so enchantingly unseen anywhere else, they knew they had to take a breather from frantically running from the team of hunters who were no doubt chasing them, and appreciate the beauty of what they had just discovered. Out of all of the marvelized words that they could have used to describe the canyon, it was Pukoli Toklo, one of the team's very few armed guardians, who happened to recall an old and supposedly lost Native American tale from Earth, whose setting perfectly described the hard-to-describe world that they had just discovered. The name of the tale roughly translated to the Gorge of Colors, and so instantly, the landscape had a name. But they quickly discovered that the landscape was far more than just beautiful colors. After taking many samples of the strange rocks embedded in the canyon walls high above the Lunari River, Lila Rosen, the exiled team's botanist, discovered that the rocks were actually a very nutrient-rich concentration of minerals. Minerals which, no doubt, had an incredible ability to grow highly nourished plants. Given that the Lunari River ran right through these nutrient-rich minerals, Lila reasoned that there must be some highly luscious plantlands downstream, and suggested that if they follow the river, they might find a good place to tuck away and hide. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm always open to collaboration, so comment some cool ideas. Let's see if we can bring them to life together. My name's Travis, this is Dreams of Lumen. Thanks for watching, see ya.